What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another video. I hope everybody's doing well, and let's dive straight into a weekly review. So first, let's get the economic calendar up. I forgot to get that sorted. And as you can see, we have high impact news on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So there's a lot of high impact news this week, which means that we should get quite a large week in terms of expansion and movement, a lot of movement in general. I am expecting quite a big week anyway. I have a feeling, and it will be justified later on in this video, but I have a feeling that we are going to get quite a large expansion, and more specifically to the upside on dollar anyway. So with that all taken into account, and considering we've got high impact news all week, I'd like to think that straight off the bat we can expect, some nice setups, and probably, most of the expansion happening from the get-go, as in I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the low maybe get created maybe on Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday we find ourselves expanding, and maybe a retracement back to midpoint of the week or something late as we get to Friday. So that's just how I'm approaching this week in terms of expansion. But overall, if I'm looking for an up close candle, that means that obviously I want the low to be created ideally, like I said, Monday, tomorrow, or early hours Tuesday, with the expectation that we are going to be running higher. Now more specifically, I'm looking at these highs right here above last week's last week's high and the high before that. That is my draw on liquidity right now, and I'm going to be making a video pretty soon on on identifying draws on liquidity, so do bear with me on that. But let's get this delineated with a ray. We'll make this blue, doesn't need to be that big, and I'm going to put weekly buy side liquidity, because that's my target for this week. And then if we drop to the daily, you can see our price has been a little bit, we've run out some significant swing lows right here. So that's sell stops that have been accumulated right there, essentially. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grey it out just so that we can see that this sell side liquidity has been taken. And then we've had a large reaction away from it with a nice push to the upside last week, and we've been continuing to push, and now it's approached this area of high resistance, and that's why we got this little reaction away from it. But I'm not going to let that stop me from assuming that price does want to continue to the upside. So what we have here is a bullish order block on the daily. So as far as I'm concerned, the open of that should be very sensitive to price. So let's get that delineated, and I'm going to write bullish order block, daily bullish order block. And ideally, maybe on moving into Monday or Tuesday, price trades down into that, and that's where I'd be expecting some buys to become available. And coupled with that is a fair value gap. And now when you have a bullish order block and a fair value gap coupled together like this is a classic ICT setup. So as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to think that we could maybe fill the fair value gap at most, and then price would want to leave it and start looking for some kind of buy side liquidity. So let's get daily fair value gap marked out, and this may be this may be where price wants to draw to early in the week and then turn around and start trading higher to our relative equal highs up here. So with that taken into account, that means we have a sell side draw and a buy side draw, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to be trading until I see dollar tap into this range. So simple as. And then let's go down to the 4 hour, and you'll see there's some lows below here, there's a swing low here, there's a fair value gap below it, but I'd like to see this get left open, to be honest. And then we also have a gap here, which we also saw in the high time frames, which is quite interesting, and you can see our price has been consistently, and I'll just show you what I mean, tapping into it, in and out of it. So here we've tapped into it, here we've tapped into it again, and like I said, tomorrow or moving into Tuesday, I wouldn't be surprised if price dropped down through it and started to try to fill this fair value gap before maybe leaving it at a later point, and then I'll be looking for price to start running up to this buy side liquidity pool up here. But first I need to see us trade down into this range and this daily bullish order block. So we'll go to the 1 hour. There's not really much for me to say here. I do like the way that we displaced on Thursday. You can see that we've taken out these lows. That's classic breaking market structure. So as far as I'm concerned, price shouldn't need to go any higher than this bullish order block right here. Price should be able to stay below here before we get here. So I'm looking at this like, when I look at the markets, I look at it like code. So I'm expecting A should happen if B happens. So as far as I'm concerned, for price to get down here, then this should stay protected. And then once it's gone here, then it should be allowed to go up here. But if price starts trading through this straight off the bat, whole different story, and then my bias is simply either wrong or, price is moving a bit quicker than anticipated. But what my point is that I want it to go from A at the highest to B and then to see. And this is me being extra, as in we don't really need to even analyze this, but my point is that if price is going to go down here, as far as I'm concerned, with the displacement we've seen, it shouldn't need to do much rallying. You know, I'd like it to fall off and just roll straight down into this range, where we also have a bullish order block on that hourly as well, which is quite convenient for us. Let's go to the 15-minute, just out of curiosity. Again, not really much, but I'm looking at this swing here specifically because it's more like it acts like a breakup, because we've got a high, low, high, high, clear displacement, and where we've literally gapped to the downside, which is why, as far as I'm concerned, price should be able to find resistance at this range to help send it below these sell stops and into our point of buy-in, where we're anticipating that price should be able to turn on the back of it and run into our weekly draw on liquidity. So I hope that all makes sense, guys. Let's head on to GBP USD. And we've just opened and price has started running straight down in towards a, what is this? Let's go to the 4 hour. I know I had some things marked out from last week. I had this fair value gap. So I spoke about this fair value gap and anticipated it to be filled. We didn't fill it last week. We did take out some sell stops, but we didn't fill it. But I was saying, if you watched last week's video, you remember me saying I want to see it get filled. I would like to still see it get filled. Now, obviously, if that's for that to happen, we need to see dollar trading higher to our weekly draw on liquidity, which is what I'm anticipating. But remember, I'm allowing price to tap down into this bullish order block first if it needs to. So what does that mean? Well, ideally we do, by the end of the week, see this fair value gap completely filled. We look at this as sell side liquidity for a draw. However, we'd expect some kind of pullback first, which is what I was talking about on dollar. So we need to see some kind of rallying again earlier on in the week. I'm looking at Monday or Tuesday, and then I'll be looking. I like look at this wick, to be honest, but let's go to the 1 hour. And to be honest, the way we've opened anyway, it's just going to make things difficult. I don't want to be making too many statements off the back of an opening like this. This is insane. Price is obviously in a rush to get somewhere. It could be that price just goes straight down and fills it, and that means that dollar will likely gap and open higher and start trading directly to our weekly draw, which is completely fine. It just means that later in the week our targets will change. It's just that for now, as far as I'm concerned, if price is going to get here on a weekly basis, then it's going to trade lower first and then go up there. However, if we find that price starts trading up towards it straight away and it's speeding up there, then it's likely we have to move our target, as in, okay, if it's taking out that, then it's likely either a discount target or it's an even higher buy side target. And that's what the beauty of Mondays is, really. So I don't really want to say too much on Monday, especially not with an opening like this. But I'm pretty flexible in allowing price to retrace on itself, and maybe it'll find resistance at the opening of this weekly fair value gap right here that we have delineated. There's also a lot of consolidation, as you can see, so I wouldn't be surprised if we found that just even surrounding this range, price might find itself consolidating a little bit and then running for the sell stops, if that makes sense. So a little bit complicated, but I think after Monday, hopefully it should make a little bit more sense on our behalf for us. And then, oh my god, excuse me. Euro USD, let's take a look at Euro. Jeez, this is going to be, you can already tell it's going to be a volatile week when you have openings like this. So this is the weekly already, but nonetheless, we're expecting overall, if we're expecting dollar to be reaching up into some kind of premium this week, we want to see euro drop down into some kind of discount. I am looking at these lows similar to what I was looking on invertedly on Euro USD. Hope I'm making sense right now, guys. Can't get my words out. Here's the daily. You can see price has been continuously trading on lower, but again, the very highest that price should be able to trade before it trades on lower is going to be this bullish or bearish order block. But this bearish order block has literally just been created, but nonetheless, it's still now technically a bearish order block because we've traded through it. So that means that moving into tomorrow, we can look at this opening as a sensitive price point where we might find that price might try rally up into there, moving into Monday or Tuesday. So that's something to take into consideration. Let's go to the 4 hour. Again, crazy displacement on the back of the opening, but again, we might find that the whole day Monday price might just consolidate a bit, maybe rally, create a high over here, and then later on in the week we then see the continuation to the downside and towards our sell stops, which I've been looking for price to try and drop down into. So in terms of creating the plan, ideally I'm going to let Monday trade, but if I do find that we're playing around in this bearish order block on Monday, I will probably trade it, as in put my position in for the week and let price run. Same with dollar. If we find that price does manage to give us some kind of discount, then I would place my position on Monday and then let it run for the week. And like I said, seeing how much high impact news we have for the entire week, I wouldn't be surprised if it was to create the high or low on the Monday. This isn't unheard of. It's just that it's generally gets traded Tuesday, Wednesday, but when its price is moving like this, nothing's going to stop it from moving, creating it on Monday because it's in a rush. So I hope that will make sense on that behalf as well. Let's go to the 15-minute. Oh, sorry, we were on euro, weren't we? Yeah, crazy displacement, but again, we'll probably find some retracement. We do have technically have a breaker right here. That's now been created. Why? Because it's the last down close candle for the up move. So we have a high, we have a low, we have a high, and then we have this massive displacement. So moving into Monday morning, maybe London session, or even New York, depending on how much time they want to waste, price might find itself rallying into this. And then if we find that we get to 8 o'clock and we're inside of this breaker, that would be a perfect setup with my expectation to then come off the back of it and see price trading low to the south side. And again, it all depends on how fast price wants to move us in. If we find that we do all of that in one day and it gets to like Tuesday and we're already taking out significant sell stops, then we'll find that Wednesday might consolidate in order to create some kind of in order to engineer liquidity, and then it'll be taking out some kind of internal engineered liquidity from inside of its own week, if that makes sense. It's going to be an interesting day nonetheless, but yeah, I hope that will make sense, guys. Hope you found this insightful. Don't forget to drop a like, drop a comment, smash subscribe, join the Discord. All the links are in the description, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.